Hey everyone, Laurel, Minnesota Zone 5A, just doing a little garden tour for early June, I guess. This really windy day, so forgive the sound in advance. Just want to start over here in this area before it loses its glory here. This is so pretty. The Back to the Fuchsia Salvia still in bloom, although you can see some blooms are done now. And they kind of send up, a lot of salvia, they'll send up one shoot and then you cut it and they'll send up two side shoots of blooms. Well, this one was so spectacular because it kind of sends up the side shoots at the same time as the main bloom. So it has one big bloom cycle and then it's pretty much done blooming. It just has nice looking foliage, so I do trim it back. It is just covered in bumblebees right now. They're all over this. You walk by and you just kind of hear buzzing. Same thing with the Nepeta. This is Walker's Low. Just absolutely beautiful colors on these blooms. And then the irises in the background there too. Love that blue on the Nepeta. It is starting to split open. So again, when this is done blooming, and this one blooms for a long time, it'll be several weeks before it'll still send up side blooms, but I cut those off and just let it kind of be a tidy mound. These are, again, the irises. I think they're butter and sugar. They're Siberian iris. I'm not 100% sure, though, because they were marked in the clearance section with a different name, a different variety, like a purple. I think they were marked Caesar's brother, maybe. Clearly, they are yellow with that kind of creamy, I don't remember the terms for the outer petals versus the inner petals on iris. To deadhead again, I just kind of come and pull them off like that to keep them looking fresh. But we have had so much rain this month, or in May, I guess. It's been great. And we've had a lot of rain in June already, too. For the first time in over 2 years, Minnesota there are no parts of Minnesota that are classified in drought mode. So that is fabulous. We had a lot of catching up to do. These stilbe are starting to put up their blooms here. I think these two green ones are Vision and White. Starting to put up some bloom shoots. None of my stilbe have bloomed in a couple of years because of the drought. This one must be the Razzle Dazzle, which is pink. Again, that was on clearance. And then we have, what did I say, Rhineland over here with lots of pink blooms. Tons of them this year. I haven't quite opened yet. I do need to trim some of these. There's a mulberry tree and then another weedy volunteer tree over here. Viburnum leaf beetle is hitting my viburnum. This is All That Glitters or All That Glows. I have one of each, and I don't remember which is which, but they are very susceptible. But they're still forming. This is the first year it's really blooming, or going to bloom, so that's exciting, despite the destruction. Sun King Aurelia, just a fantastic plant. This plant is so tough. And it just very reliable, gets really big really fast, but it dies all the way back to the ground. It's a perennial, good thing to put in a spot. Like if you have somewhere where you need to pile up snow and you can't have a lot of plants there, it does need part shade. It can take a fair amount of sun though. But something that'll die back to the ground. So you can do things like pile snow or whatever. These white astilbe are also just loaded with blooms. Those things got huge this year. Those were clearance fine. We got the lady fern there. Looking good. The designer jeans hosta with the red stems. Crested surf fern. And then this Jacob's ladder. Maybe Stairway to Heaven. I can't recall. Done blooming, but the petals or the spent blooms kind of look pretty too because they're pink. Sorry, climb over the bench there. I love the Autumn Frost hosta, just beautiful color, gorgeous variegation. And then I did trim back the Brunnera over here because that was done blooming. Well, there's one little bloom left. And then the Raspberry Splash Lungwort I trimmed back as well. I have two of these, and both of them are getting like curly leaves. I haven't looked up what could be causing that, but hopefully it's not harmful. I think these are both Jack Frost Brunnera. And then some blooms on the Plum Cascade, Cucarella. That is a looking glass Brunnera down there, also planted in the fall, so it's still in its creeping. I do see blooms coming up on the Maggie Dally Astilbe. I am so excited. Those are my favorite blooms. They are so gorgeous. So I am psyched. And we have 2 clematis flowers over here. So pretty. And there are a few buds. This clematis I think I planted 2 summers ago. Does get a lot of shade, so it's not going to grow as fast as if it were in more sun. Clematis I found take a while to get going too. So, and then what kind is it? Killian Donahue. This little lungwort just hanging on. And then we've got more Brunnera. I need to trim these. I just didn't have time. This is the other viburnum. This one doesn't seem as hard hit as the one over there by the beetle, but there is some damage getting chewed upon. We've got, these are firelight hydrangeas here. Starting to fill in now. They were looking a little sparse this spring. And then you can kind of see peeking through the Caradonna salvia is really in full bloom now. And that's in part shade. The ones in full sun get taller and stay fuller. The ones that are in a bit more shade tend to split slightly, but not a lot. We've got these Brunnera that I also need to trim. I did notice this one. A lot of the blooms were getting real wilty too, and some of the leaves. So I don't know what's going on here. It's just planted too low. This does tend to be a low spot that gets really wet. Before I planted the hydrangeas, I kind of built this up a little bit, so it didn't get so soaked. It holds on to a lot of water. This salvia, I don't remember, I want to say sky blue, the little bee enjoying the blooms. But that one stays pretty small and compact. So that's in bloom now. We still have the beautiful geranium, Americana salmon, and then the drops of Jupiter ornamental oregano here, forming up, not yet blooming. And I see buds on the echinacea all in here. So, and then the onyx heucherella looks really pretty. That took a couple of years to get going, but it looks really nice now. Look at the Caradonna salvia here again, kind of a front view of that up against the Millennium Allium and the, bee balm. And then that bright yellow of the barberry. This time of year it has really bright foliage. Gets a little bit darker later on in the summer. We've got snapdragons and all the annuals over here coming along. This is a coreopsis now, putting on some blooms. And the Boom Chocolata geranium. Really pretty color on those blooms. And I like how the stems kind of are pinkish or reddish. So it gives kind of a multi-tone effect. I can see it's getting eaten by those little beetles that eat holes in the leaves. I forget what they're called. They don't harm the plants. It's just kind of unsightly. And this yellow is the Nesia Inca Nemesia, an annual, but really pretty. This down here is a Helenium, kind of fall colors. The Brunnera is done blooming. You don't have to cut off the bloom stalks, but I probably will cut off at least the taller ones. Otherwise they kind of flop over and look a little bit messy. But I like that it's a little bit perkier this year and hiding the daylily foliage a little bit more. And more echinacea back here putting on buds. Those are all white. A couple of hostas. I think the one on the left, what did I say that was? Stained glass, and the one on the right with more variegation, that is June hosta. This is a mystery blue hosta that was unmarked a few years ago. More geranium. Those are sweet tea heucherella, that little trio. And then a green Haconocloa grass. I like the red tones that it puts out too in its blades. And then these viburnum are just, and the dogwood too. I've just kind of let these go. They were clearance plants, but I like the screen that they create. But I will have to trim some of the branches where they're encroaching on other things. And it'll do them good too. We've got a bunch of ageratum here. We've got artist blue, those three, and those three. They were very root bound, so they took a while to recover, but now it looks like they're putting on new growth, turned green instead of yellow. And then this one is the Aguilera Sky Blue. Oh look, there's an oak tree coming up in the middle. Look at that. Why can't I remember the name of this geranium? Biokovo, I think. Hardy geranium, cranesbill. Gets really pretty, kind of reddish color in the winter. These poor Forever Purple heuchera. They were nice and full last year, but we didn't have any snow cover this winter, and they got eaten away by rabbits. So they're looking a little rough. And then that Dicentra back there, that was a new planting. This hellebore didn't, Frost Kiss, I think it's Penny's Pink hellebore, didn't bloom this year because it got trampled on when they took down the tree, but the foliage looks great, so I think it'll be nice next year. And then I transplanted some Veronica over here. It's still getting that mildew issue, so I don't know, maybe that kind must just be prone to it. Another heuchera, this is a Proven Winners kind, I don't remember the name of it, but it's cool to see the bright pink stems on a purple heuchera. A lot of times the purple ones have white blooms instead of pink. And then this is the pig squeak. What's it called? It's a botanical name. Pig squeak. Winter Glow Virginia. There we go. I love those big bold leaves on that. And then that's the wee hosta. Those curly variegated leaves. I did just trim back just the other day the Trevi Fountain lungwort. This one, it's huge. I could divide it, but I don't want to. I like it. I like that it's nice and huge. And it's not splitting in the middle or anything, so I don't think I need to right away. And look, I just noticed this. A seedling. I haven't had one of these seeds yet, so that's fun. We've got some heucherella. I think these are something like butterscotch or that one I'm going to have to move. This is daffodil foliage. I can cut that back soon. But this is a blue drinking gourd hosta, and with the 3 years of drought, actually I moved it back here from where it used to be, and we had drought for 3 years, and it stayed really tiny. And I thought, okay, well, maybe it's just going to be a small hosta. And so I planted this heucherella last summer. You can see how much smaller this was, that it was wide open. Clearly it's getting engulfed, but now that the trees are gone, I do have room. Finally killed off the grass along here. This one I'm just kind of killing off some more grass. But when I have time, when I'm done planting all the annuals, I'll be able to cut an edge and make a proper curve on the edge of this border here, and then start taking over the grass all back here and plant some new trees. Striptease hosta, really cool variegation on that one. And I like the name. Another heucherella here. That one might be peach tea instead of sweet tea. And I thought I saw another leaf coming up on this guy, but I must have imagined it. He did. He looked dead. Another Sun King Aurelia. And then this is a Joe Pye weed. It's not going to stay here. I just put it there to get it out of the way when they were taking the trees down. I do have a Arbovita to put in here where the third viburnum died. But you can see how big that dogwood is now. I've never really trimmed that one much since I got it. And we've got the 3 Cheyenne Sky panicum grasses, and then we have some self-seeded native wild violas that are cute, and some I always want to say Plectranthus, but it's Pachysandra, that ground cover, and this is native bee balm, the purple kind. I did plant up a little pot of begonias here on the stump. The lamium looking beautiful. The bees also love these flowers. And then I got some of the impatiens potted up and in the ground. I have a lot of extra impatiens because I ordered those before we knew the trees were going to be coming out. Now I don't have nearly as much shade, and I don't want to plant as much because I want to leave some space to plant a tree. Hostas over here looking pretty. I don't remember the name of all of them. I think that one, or maybe that one of these two is called Royal Wedding. These two skinny ones are praying hands. This green one is a mystery that was in a container that my stepmom had. Might be guacamole. Kind of looks like guacamole. If so, I will have to move it because it gets big. But she had a mixed container of perennials, and when they were getting ready to move, she gave me the whole container, and so I transplanted the perennials in the garden. That was one of them. So I don't know if that's Maui buttercups. I can't remember. I buy things on sale in big batches and at the end of the year. So I know that's Blue Angel, the big blue one back there. That was also from my dad and stepmom's yard. Bunch of Japanese painted ferns and another heucherella here. Not pink fizz, pink pop, maybe. I love the ajuga, mix of ajuga and the Solomon seal kind of arching over. And this beast, the elderberry, red-berried elderberry, you can see how it gets its name. It's huge, but it's these vibrant red berries. They're so bright after it flowers. So I always like to leave it. I will trim it back hard, but I always like to leave it till the berries are done because they're just so pretty. The birds eat them. So, but you can see, look at all those stems without berries. It's all new growth just this year. That is how fast it grows. So I'll be coming back here and giving it a very hard prune once the berries are done. And so I can just get in here. Love Rainbow's End hosta in there. That is turning out to be one of my favorites, I think, after autumn frost. And then this Jacob's Ladder is still blooming. I love how tall the bloom stalks are, how they kind of peek over the bench. That one started blooming back there too. And this geum, this is the first year. I think this one is Red Dragon. First year this has bloomed. It really struggled. It struggled after I got it as a clearance plant at end of the season. I think I overwintered it and it struggled a lot. We took away the food because the cats kept pooping in my garden bed, in like my raised bed, and I could not keep them out. So I'll show you what I ended up doing. My saran wrap brick fortress didn't work, but I always have violas and Torrenia self-seed. Looks like there are some weeds too, but they always self-seed under here, so I just let those go. Then we have more hostas. These were newly planted last summer. Don't remember many of them, except that one's definitely Hudson Bay. Pretty sure that one is Summon Substance. Variegated Brunner, I need to trim the blooms. That one I think is called Cherry something. I don't remember. And who knows what that one is? Liberty, maybe? Kind of looks like it. I did dig out. There's a bunch of you can see the signs of my digging back here. A bunch of Lily of the Valley coming through the fence. Man, that stuff's aggressive, so I wanted to dig it out. Those rhizomes move fast. The three Bobo hydrangeas look gorgeous. They are evenly spaced, but this one is smaller. That one I was newly purchased last summer and planted as first year plant. Those two were a few years old and I transplanted them. This is the Rockin' Golden Delicious Salvia. And then I love this planter. Look at that. This is the Hoopla Vivid Orchid Supertunia. I was really, when I saw that on various gardening channels last year as a preview, I was out to find it this year. And they had it, if you're local, in the Twin Cities. They are in the Garden City tents. They're pricier, so I don't get a lot of stuff there, but they have a ton of proven winners and a ton of new varieties. So Garden City Greenhouses, if you go to their website, it'll show you their locations around the Twin Cities. They're those kind of tents that like pop up in parking lots and stuff. And they tend to have, that's where I get a lot of clearance plants towards the end of the season, because starting late August and September, they really do great sales because they're just temporary. So it's like everything must go. What they don't sell by closing day in early October gets thrown in the trash. So they do awesome sales. So FYI, I'll let you in on my secret. Don't buy all the plants before I can get to them this fall. There's a Rockin' Something Sedum from Proven Winners. Still blooming. The GM. I think this one is like, what's it called? Totally Tangerine? Something Tangerine. jam. I have more Solomon seal over here. This patch struggles a little bit just because it's so wet or dry over here by these giant arborvitae. They soak up a lot of water. This garden bed's really dry. But this dianthus is really pretty. That one's really just chock full of blooms. I see that one. That's pretty common. It's not like branded. It's not proven winners. I think the name starts with a K. I can't remember. I got it again on clearance. But look at those blooms. You can find it. I've seen it at just about any garden center I've ever gone to. And this is proven winners. This is their Dicentra. Got trimmings from the grass trimmer in there. But this is the kind that kind of blooms all summer. I love that kind of icy blue-green foliage too. And another mystery heuchera. This has been here for a number of years. But it is doing really well, even in the dry. We've had so much rain this year. The ghost fern's doing great. And I think I was going to move it because it got so much sun, but the honeysuckle now has gotten so big, the Kinsley's Ghost honeysuckle, that it provides a lot more shade for that, for the first time, for that ghost fern. So it's pretty much done blooming. There are a few blooms here and there, but you can really see how it looks when it's all leafed out. It looks like a ginormous eucalyptus. It is so cool. It grows really fast. It gets these tendrils. Sometimes I can just wrap them around themselves. The ones that get in the way, like that long guy there, I'll trim. But I'll also put those in like a vase, and they last for a long time, which is kind of nice. So pretty. This is on the old laundry pole. You can see it over here. The one on the other side, it's pear. I have a clematis growing up, so hopefully that'll be nice and filled in. Peeking through here, you can see the turtlehead chelone. I think this one is Hot Lips. It's a dwarf variety. An autumn frost hosta, fragrant bouquet hosta. Again, this dogwood is a beast. There's a ligularia back there. I kind of leave it though at the peak of summer because it shades that ligularia. We've got little mini skirt, mini hosta hiding down there under the leaves of the bigger guys, and my little chancha, and a mystery hosta. I think it was mislabeled, so they had it on clearance. Really big, super sun tolerant though. And then there's Vulcan. I like the variegation on that one. That one is more prone to burning in the sun, to scorching. So I tend to leave the dogwood branches long. Oh gosh, there are a lot of mosquitoes over here. Okay, we're not going to take very long. Not much has changed though. We've still got, it started blooming. First couple blooms on the lamb's ear. The lady's mantle, still blooming at chartreuse blooms. I did trim some of the branches that had right way down. You can see the penstemon blooms, kind of those light purple ones there. Let's see if I can zoom in. I am not an accomplished camera woman. And then there's a St. John's wort down there that once these two are done blooming will be more cleared. Zoom out fast. And the Tiny Wine 9 bark. Just a few kind of those peachy pink blooms on the ends here. But mostly done. I kind of like the spent blooms though. They're still kind of peach colored. But those will eventually turn brown and kind of disappear. Got budded up. So this is a pink one. Opening act phlox. I think it's called like Pink Romance or something. I have to look at the tag. Another fragrant bouquet hosta. These do live up to their name. Their flowers are it's so fragrant. In the evening especially, I'll be walking out here and there's a little breeze and it just smells like jasmine on the air. Of course, like all hosta, bumblebees love them. I have a zipper heuchera. There's another one down there. Every year I'm just amazed how big these hostas get. So that one I'll have to move out so it can get more sun. And then I have yet to plant this up, but soon. This is that blue rush grass that came back. And it has like seeds on it, seed heads on its leaves. So that's kind of cool. The one chunk of Rudbeckia that survived. I'm not sure if this is, unless it's a weed, I'm kind of waiting for it to bloom. I thought it was Rudbeckia because it looks just like the Rudbeckia. that mostly died, but it was a few years old. But this is the alyssum that self-seeds. So I just let that little seedlings come up. And then we've got the Rock and Grow. I think this is Back in Black Salvia. No, sedum. These two are getting really big. So these two I planted 2 years ago. This one was in the fall last year. Evidently, I dropped a bean, hyacinth bean, and it has sprouted a vine. We've got a bunch of annuals that will go in the landscape when I have time. I got most of my pots planted up over here, so I'll do a tour of that later on. All my recipes, I was doing some potting here, but that's looking good. Go back out to this garden. Sorry, mosquitoes, if I'm shaking around. Sweet tea, Cucarella. Again, I'll be moving this soon. I'm hoping I can get this done quickly. Just redo the edge of this garden, pull it out a little bit, and move this Limelight Prime Hydrangea out a couple feet. And then hopefully being able to order, I just can't decide which juniper to get to go in this spot. That's another of the mystery hosta. I transplanted that. And then this is a salvia in bloom here. This is a volunteer. I grew a salvia. It was supposed to be an annual from seed. And it just kept coming back, but it got humongous. I had it here for a couple of years. Eventually dug it up, and I gave one chunk to my friend, I think, and one chunk to the neighbor across the street. But it's self-seeded, so I noticed that in the spring and just let it go. This is gorgeous. This is the Crimson Kisses Weigela, now just fully in bloom. Really bright. Such gorgeous blooms. Love that. Oh, don't step on the drain pipe here. About ready to cut back the allium, but the snapdragons have opened. These came back. There's what's the purple one called? Speedy Sonnet Purple. And then I want to say that's like Butterfly. No, I don't recall now. I bought them last year. But we've got another hydrangea. Let's see, let's go around the front side here. If I can get myself out of here without falling over. The Tor Birch Leaf Spirea is really happy this year. Blooms on old wood, so this is last year's growth, last year's stems. That's what it means, old wood. It spends, Weigela are the same thing. It spends all summer kind of forming its buds and into the fall and for the following summer. So these buds it formed last year. Next year, it will bloom on these stems, this growth, but not the first year. So it's kind of like second year growth, it will bloom. So that's why it looks kind of half and half right now. But that one struggled for a really long time. Cat's Pajamas Nepeta, the blooms are fading a little bit, but they still have so much color. And then this phlox opened up too. Another opening act. Again, I have to look up the name. These two echinacea are doing good. Those are really cool. They're kind of like double rimmed flowers. Peachy, if I remember right. We've got some Solidago. And then the Amsonia, still Blue Star. I think that's what this one was called. Again, it was at Puritan's on clearance, labeled as a grass, an ornamental grass. But I could tell it was Amsonia, and the only variety they sell of the large leaf one. I think they have a thread leaf as well, but this kind, they only sell Blue Star, so that is my assumption. I've got this cool blue Veronica, which if that proves to be mildew resistant, I will plant more than just one. And then the Dalmatian Peach Foxglove. I planted these last summer, and they're opening up. Just love that color. I love how they kind of mingle in between stuff here. And the peach drift rose started opening too, and it smells delightful. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous color on this. It is like glows. Absolutely glows, because it kind of has yellow and peach and pink. And this is going to be spectacular. Just started opening now. So I'm really excited for that. And it is tall enough for me to sniff without having to crawl, get on hands and knees. I can just lean over and sniff it now. Like, look at all those buds here. That is just going to be chock full of blooms with that gorgeous Weigela in the background. This one I do need to trim. Again, I will wait till after it is completely done blooming because it blooms on old wood, so I don't want to bloom it and trim it in the fall and trim off all the blooms that it spent the summer working on and setting for next year. We've got, I'm pretty sure this is called Dark Tower Sedum. I get those mixed up too. Some more snapdragons back there. And then the yarrow, Noblesse yarrow. And then there's another sedum, lemon jade, ground cover one here. These daylilies are an absolute beast. Can't believe how big they are. Those are South Seas, absolutely gorgeous blooms. I'll probably move out this arborvitae, that's Anna's Magic Ball, because now I can see it's really getting engulfed by the daylilies. Everything's just gotten so big this year with all the rain we've had. Again, I moved this Dark Tower Sedum and it's being overtaken, so I may have to scoot the grouping out a bit. This is the opalescent phlox from Proven Winners. It is having mildew issues. This is the third year I've had this, and I haven't had issues with it before. I was just amazed because phlox here always seems to get mildew, but I think we just had such a wet spring. Maybe it was also stressed from the dry winter. When plants are stressed, they tend to have less defense against disease and insect, etc. So that could be part of it too. So, but I guess not much I can really do there. Could try milk spray. That works as a preventative against powdery mildew or downy mildew. It doesn't allow the spores to stick. It's the enzymes in the milk that don't allow the spores to stick to the leaves. It won't cure it if it already has it really bad, but it can prevent it from happening and prevent it from getting worse. Mix milk with water and spray it on. So, I don't know, we'll try. We've got the Daisy Made Daisy about to open up here, a bunch of blooms. I just planted the Purple Prince Alternanthera there. Started that from seed this winter, and it looks so healthy. I'm quite impressed with myself. And then I do have a bunch of the self-seeded, those little seedlings down there, the bright green. Those are self-seeded 4 o'clocks, so I'll be moving those. I also started a bunch from seed. And then I'll be planting up this area with annuals. I've got this thing just like tripled in size in a week. That's the Holy Grail Hardy Hibiscus from Proven Winners. Excuse me, got the hiccups. We've got a Coreopsis here, bright yellow blooms about to open up. The 2 Shenandoah grasses. Some Echinacea, drumstick allium here. I'll be planting, I've got zinnias, cosmos, and dahlias, although I've got a whole batch of cosmos that's self-seeded around the azalea here. So I'll be moving those too once I'm ready. Oh, forgive me while I walk. You can see all my dahlia starts there. And strawberries. I picked a whole basket of strawberries, but man, they are coming in. Some have been sacrificed to the bugs, but that's okay. There's plenty. Garlic scapes. I'll be cutting these hopefully tonight if I have time. Well, yeah, I need to cook with some. So when those come out like that, you cut them, and I cook with them, just use them like I would garlic. They're just milder than garlic, so you can eat them in like more raw situations too. My beans sprouted. I sowed them maybe a month ago. One kind of came up but didn't do well. And I waited and waited, and no more seeds came up, so I sowed some more. Waited and waited, watered them for a week and a half, nothing. They were kind of old seeds, maybe 3 years old. So I went to when I was at the store, I picked up another pack of seeds thinking, well, they're probably too old. And the seeds I got were only like $1.50. And I thought, all right, well, this weekend I'll sow them. Well, sure enough, here they go sprouting. That's Murphy's Law. As soon as I buy new ones, they sprout. That's okay, I have fresh ones for next year. So I've got zucchini here and 2 peppers. I always underestimate how big zucchini is going to get, but I can keep it clipped away. And once the peppers get tall, they'll be fine. This planter was on the corner, which I planted another Purple Prince Alternanthera. And when I was digging out the old soil, it has become an ant's home. So I'm trying to shoo them out of the soil by tipping it on its side and mixing it up every now and then, hoping they'll take their eggs and whatever and go back into the ground. And then I can use the soil. This is my cat proofing currently. I was really having trouble with the carrots because that was where they were digging. So the saran wrap, bricks, nothing worked. But there needs to be something that protects the soil long enough for the carrots to sprout and get some size, because they're just digging up seedlings right out of the ground to use the litter box over here. So how kind of me to buy this fancy, expensive, giant litter box for them. These are like closet organizers. I just got them at Menards. They're inexpensive, like in the closet organization area. And I thought, well, that'll work. They're about 6 inches tall, so I can sow the seeds, water through them. They'll get plenty of sunlight. They'll keep the cats out, and then I can easily take them off once the carrots get a good amount of size, hopefully big enough that the cats won't go in there anymore. So we'll see how that works. TBD. I did plant some of these strawberry. I like to put strawberry blonde marigolds over. Kind of tuck them in with the peppers. This garlic, I don't see any scapes on this yet. This was my backup. Oh yeah, there is one. Okay, it's starting to get scapes too. I can wait a while to cut those. But more marigolds in with my peppers. Tons of strawberries. Ooh, they're so tasty too. They don't make it far. I go in and rinse them, and I just eat them all standing at the sink right there. I did harvest a couple of the Salanova lettuce today. Slowly be harvesting those. They're so pretty. It's like I don't even want to look at how, like, on the inside, the leaves are multicolored. The cool thing about Salanova, the unique thing, is it forms these really tidy heads. And they're all attached right to the core. Like, they're easier to take apart than normal lettuce. They don't get this long stem like a lot of other lettuces get. And all of the leaves are almost the same size. Like, they're very uniform. That's how they were developed, was for like selling at farmers markets. And they're so pretty. But they're more expensive seeds. I think you can only get them from Johnny's right now. I mean, they're not terribly expensive. It's still just seeds. But I've had literally 100% germination rate. And I've been growing this. I think this is the 3rd year I've been growing them now. And they're pelleted seeds, but I still get 100% germination, even on the old, like 3-year-old seeds. I just used up the last of those this year. So highly recommend Salanova lettuce. Got more shallots. I planted more marigolds. And then I did some of the snapdragons. I started from seed here in the corner, along with an Emerald Towers basil. Peas are coming up. So I sowed cucumbers and squash. And sadly, no action on the squash, and I only had one little cucumber seedling come up. I think those seeds are 2 or maybe 2 years old now, so I'll resow, see what happens. All right, so I think that's most of the back. Oh, can you see? You probably can't see. Nothing ever looks as good. But just that little clematis peeking out on the fence there. I just love it. Okay. I love this rose. Just love it. And the foxglove. All right, we'll head up to the front yard real quick here. That's right, I didn't mention this basket. It was a moss basket. The birds just relentlessly picked all the moss away. And I tried remossing, but they kept picking. So I just took black landscape fabric and wrapped it around the outside, and that seems to have worked just fine. And I plant drapey thing, so you can't even really see the basket. But this is that, this was kind of stressed in its pot. Lotus Vine, we've got the Supertunia Latte. Planted that here last year, it did great. Superbina Whiteout, Supertunia Mini Vista Midnight, and then a Dichondra Silver Falls, so that should drape. And I am so excited for this clematis to open. Probably by next week we'll start seeing blooms. The Jackmanii, like bright purple blooms. So, stay tuned. All right, front yard. I did plant. Got the begonia still looking stunning. I love that with the moneywort / creeping Jenny. I planted these 2 planters up front, some more begonias, and then some of this Lismachia trailing. I can take part sun, which these do get direct sun in the afternoon. These are the solar flare heucherella and the violas that were in the light lamppost planter for spring. Hopefully, like I said before, this Weigela is sending up some taller stems. It got crushed a couple years ago by snow. Weigela don't have particularly strong stems, so that is recovering. I don't know, I talk about the beast. It's very pretty. I will, again, it's all time. If I didn't have a full-time job, I could do all this kind of stuff. But you know how it is. Beautiful native plant. Firecracker is the name of it, Lismachia. But that thing was a single 1 gallon. It had like 4 stems on it last summer when I planted it from a little 1 gallon plant can, and it is massive now. So I don't mind it taking over, just not up here. There's just not the space for it. So same thing, this grass, kind of cool. I don't know what it is. It was not marked, but I could see it was like kind of a fountain grass, blue tone, which I like. And then these are absolutely gorgeous. Those were annual, quote unquote, dianthus on super clearance one year. And it was when I was first planting up this garden and I had all this empty space. And I was like, oh, I'll just pop them in and it'll look pretty this year. Well, 3 years later, here they are, and they do look gorgeous. So, I don't know, maybe they just serendipitously found a home permanently. This is a hardy mum, baby pink blooms. That kind of blooms all summer. It's a really nice one. We've got this one's recovering, but these poor little carex that I think suffered from the super dry winter. These begonias are just amazing. They've already gotten bigger. Proven winners, Surefire Rose. And then this is a salvia, also was mismarked. It might be Rose Marvel, I'm not sure. One of the pink ones from Gertens, but that's starting to open up. And I love that hellebore right behind it. I love the contrast and the texture of the foliage, especially with the, there's another Blue Angel hosta back there, and then that one peeking out is Island Breeze. And just those flowers. This is the Spanish Flare hellebore. Oh, it's putting on seeds. Cool. You can kind of see now. Of course, it's late in the season, but it has burgundy center and this kind of creamy chartreuse bloom. And I like the brightness of the foliage, too. It's like this bright green. I have another Frost Kiss. Let's step over. Hellebore here. Chartreusey, I think they'll be more pink. This is its first year, but you can see that variegated foliage. Closer up view of the hostas. These are little quickfire hydrangeas. And then I've got, I think these are the Deutschland Astilbe, also blooming for the first time. I see I have a tree growing, too. Spectacular. And then we've got, hiding back here, some dark heuchera and a couple of ghost ferns. These kind of look like 2 different plants, though. It's kind of weird, so, like, why is that one so much smaller? And then we've got more Solomon seal and this little blue hosta back there that I forgot I transplanted until it started coming up this year. Man, these blooms are, it's like this was new. It had to compete with this Lismachia, so it sent up these super tall blooms. this will bloom like bright yellow. It's really pretty against this foliage. So that's okay. I'm not in a hurry to move it. It'll be fine. Oh, sorry. As I step out, there are the begonias again. I did plant a little ring of those violas around the tree. My across the street neighbor just put in some trees and some shrubs. It looks really nice. I think he moved in a year or two ago. A couple of years, 2 winters maybe. Opening act, Pink Dot Phlox. Starting to open. It's called opening act because it's an early phlox to bloom. We've got this ground cover campanula, was unmarked. I don't know the variety. On clearance as always. Really pretty blue flowers. And then these will be hot pink. Those, it's called, pardon my cerise, bee balm. This is annual Rudbeckia Sahara. Little patch here. And the Caesar's Brother Iris. Stunning color. You can see why the ones in the back were not Caesar's brother. That was incorrect. Very different. Oh, there's a bee. Bumblebee sleeping. Just snoozing. I love that. I love that bees just find a flower and crash for the evening. So cute. Whoa, is there like a giant bee on here? What's going on? Oh no, it's just a dead flower. Never mind. We've got the planter. The Amsonia, there's like 2 flowers left. That'll just be this cool, pretty texture here. That was new last year, so it's still establishing. But I've got more stuff to plant around here as soon as I get around to trimming the yew. It really needs a good trim. We've got, I know that one is caramel, heuchera. The other ones I don't remember. And then we've got the Necia, Inca, Nemesia. And, this will look sad. I did plant these, I started these from seed. Didn't really have a plan, but I just had the seed packet and I wanted to try. So hopefully they'll pop up here. They were stressed because they were too small. Those are African daisies. We've got hollyhocks blooming. I finally ran the soaker hose up here. So all of the, I have a lot of things that self-seed every year. This area doesn't get a ton of rain because the eaves, or the eaves, what's the word? Soffits of the house are so big. I've got more hollyhocks, that one forming a bloom there. These are a Dalmatian peach foxglove that I planted last year. Starting to bloom. And then, just as I hoped, they are self-seeding all over the place here. So I might just leave those. I might transplant some, yet to be decided. And then this is Overdam miscanthus grass. No, not miscanthus. Calamagrostis. And, I see more foxglove seedlings down there too. Ideally, one of these years, I want to really expand this out and plant up this whole area, but time, and energy is also a factor. Neither are unlimited resources. This is the limoncello barberry. It looks absolutely stunning this spring. Like the other barberries, the green, bright colored ones, it kind of fades to more of a medium green later in the season, but early on it has such beautiful foliage when it emerges. More heuchera, and then a Patriot hosta there. And then this is the blue shadow Fothergilla shrub. Its blooms are done now, but that pretty blue color. That was newly planted last year too. So, sorry for my shakiness and the wind, I am not a professional, unfortunately. So that's the front garden. And we'll come over to the rock garden because a few more things opened. These sedum are in bloom now. And the blooms have started to open on the other Angelina sedum here. Bright yellow. You still got the violas. Those are Autumn Charm sedum, the variegated ones. And then this, I think, is like firecracker plum or something. Something like that. And, oh, we have some blooms forming on the serendipity allium already. This poor one is struggling. I've said before, that spot, multiple plants, different varieties of plants have died in that particular spot. I don't know what it is about that area. This sedum is putting on, it blooms pink, full of buds here. And this hens and chicks, it's really cool. And then I have campanula. We've got rapido white and rapido blue. The thrift armeria is pretty much done blooming, those little lollipops. Another campanula, rapido blue. I love those big, huge flowers. I think that one is rapido white. That one kind of, that one was kind of, I wasn't sure if it was dead after winter, and it's clearly much smaller, but we'll let it be. Speaking of bee, there's a bee enjoying the sedum. Another variegated one. These are Russian sage. Will bloom in a few weeks. They are the crazy blue variety. Whole bunch of Angelina sedum and another rapido blue campanula. And there is a serendipity allium that's getting engulfed in the sedum. I should trim that sedum back some and let that be free. But I want to show you the smoke bush tree here. One last thing, I want to show you the smoke bush tree in its full glory. It's full of its smoke, those blooms that look smoky and frilly, really pretty deep purple leaves. This thing is very cool. These are technically a shrub. This is like the traditional old-fashioned kind, but it has been made into a tree form, which is kind of cool. This was in here when we moved in. All of this landscaping was probably established at least 15 years ago, I'm guessing. So, that's it, I guess, as if that wasn't long enough. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you had a great weekend and are enjoying your spring, having some good weather. We'll see you